Okay, we'll get started there as some few more people join. So thank you all for joining us today for our business planning webinar, part of our Lunch and Learn series. Previously, you may have joined us at a restaurant where we could enjoy a glass of wine and have a lunch while we do this. But unfortunately, with COVID at the moment, we're all at home. So hopefully, you have had lunch or have got your lunch with you to go whilst we present this webinar today. So my name is Paul Cunningham. I'm an associate here at Smart Business Solutions. I'll be presenting today along with my colleague Daniel McCulloch. We'll be presenting on business planning. We'll also take questions at the end. Hopefully you've all had a chance to experience with Zoom at the moment, but if you do have any questions, we will be answering them at the end. So just if you can chuck them in the Q&A rather than the chat, it does make it easier just for us to manage and make sure that we get all your questions answered. So at Smart Business Solutions, we're here to help you not only with your accounting and tax compliance, but also with growing your business and getting everything out of the business that you want to achieve. So this is why part of the reason why we offer these webinars, to share our knowledge with everyone, and hope that the large community can help grow their businesses as well. So avoiding insanity, I guess, very pertinent during these times. And I guess one of this quote, I think most people would be familiar with this quote, and insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting different results. So I guess what we're hoping that you get a lot out of this session, and that you go away and use the information that we provide you to really have a really good effect and strong effect on your business. So I guess going out of today's session, you have 4 choices. You can do nothing. Whoops, sorry. You can do nothing. You can retreat. So you might go away, do a couple of things, have a think about it, but then not really make too much of an effort. You can take normal amounts of action. So I guess when we say normal amounts of action, we're talking about you are, take a few things away, implement a couple of things, maybe do a little bit of a business plan, but don't take enough amount of action to make that significant change. So if you take a few things away, that'd be fantastic. At the very minimum, that's okay. But what we'd love for everyone to be doing is to take massive amounts of action, to really use this as a springboard to look at your business plan if you don't have one, and implement it. If you do have one, great time now to look at it, have another look at it, particularly with everything going on. If you've created a business plan a while ago, it's probably a really good opportunity now to take another look at it and I guess reassess. Why plan? So here's the agenda today. So we're going to talk briefly now about why we want to plan, and then we're going to look at what we think you should be including in your business plan, and a few of the next steps, and obviously we're going to answer your questions as discussed. So why plan? I guess the biggest thing here is that the failure to implement can be a really big problem for business. That we have these thoughts and go, oh, we really should do this for our business, or we really should do that, but then we sort of don't implement. And that's probably because we don't really have that specific plan in place in order to implement these things. And it's really important to have that big picture. And as you'll see from the business plan when we go through, it's really starting from that really big picture and then narrowing down into, okay, how are we going to get there in smaller steps, and what can stop us, and having that vision there to do that. So really important to put down, what do you want to get out of your business? What do you want to achieve? And then detail a plan how to get there. So I'll just want to show an example of a business plan that we've got for our fake company, Faux Proprietary Limited, or Faux Limited. So this is the kind of business plan that if you do a business plan with us and get us to assist, this is what generally sort of comes out with in this format. So a couple of key things with a business plan, and what we recommend is it should be 1 page, or in this case it's 2 pages. So let's say 1 page front and back. And so the idea is that it should be small enough that you can refer to it regularly. It's not something that you do, you create this big old masterpiece and then you put it in the drawer and never think about it again. It really should be something that you're referring to quite regularly, looking at least reviewing at least once a month, if not more regularly, writing on it, jotting ideas out, and then adjusting. And it can be a fluid document in some respect, but also for even the things that your purpose isn't going to change and your values might not change, but keep referring back to it. And you know, if you come up with a problem in your business and you've got to make some decisions, well, let's look back at, you know, what are our values? What are my values? You know, and let's help your business planning document help you decide and make decisions in your business. So we can see here on the first page, we've got the purpose and the vision, and you know, what do we want to achieve as business owners and values. And we've got some numbers there and some specifics in there. And then so that's sort of, you know, if you look at that first few columns, it's really the big picture kind of things. And then we go, okay, well, what does that mean for our numbers? What do we want to achieve? And then we start to drill that down into, okay, how are we going to achieve up here? You know, what indicators do we want? What kind of clients do we want? You know, what are our issues? What do we need to watch out for? And then what are our goals and how are we going to achieve them? So it's really starting from that big picture thing, which I'll be talking about. And then Daniel will get into the more sort of, I guess, the detail orientated about how do we get there. Whoops. Going backwards. Sorry about that. So the first part of the business plan, as we showed before, was the purpose. So I guess, you know, why does your business exist? Why does the business exist in the eyes of your customers, not you as the owner? So obviously, you know, we want our businesses to make money, but you know, we probably don't want to put that out there as our purpose. We want to take money off people. Our purpose is about what our business does, you know, in the eyes of the customer. What do we do? What are we trying to achieve? One thing that I found. An example I found sort of this morning, which is why it's not in the slides, but Google's mission. Our mission is to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. I think this is a really good example of a purpose statement or a mission statement. It explains what Google is trying to do for its end users, I guess. I mean, obviously Google makes money from advertisers, but I guess what Google is trying to say, well, if we look after our end users, we get more end users. If we achieve that as our purpose, then more people are going to come and use our site, and then we're going to sell advertising space, which is what they want to do. So what is it that your end users, your end customers, what does your business exist for to give to them? Can also incorporate how is your business different to your competitors. So, you know, are you more affordable generally? Do you offer more of a bespoke service or a special service than maybe your competitors do? Are you know, higher quality? How is it that you're different from your competitors? And you can put that into your purpose. Really recommend that your purpose is, you know, really short and punchy. It's a clear purpose statement. So we're not trying to explain every single thing that the business does here. It's just our overall overarching, what are we trying to do for our customers? Another example we've got down there that you can see on the slides is from Moose Toys, so they obviously are a toy maker, and their purpose is we're in the business of making children happy, which is a really nice sentiment and a really nice purpose that can really provide, you know, it's a really positive message that this is what we're trying to do, and it's a really positive messages that you can put out to your customers, your suppliers, and to your staff that, hey, this is at the end of the day, this is what we do. We're designing toys that make children happy. So it's a really nice purpose there that, you know, everyone can get behind. So I really recommend, you know, spending time on your purpose. What is it your business exists for? Pardon me. The second part is the vision. So where is your business going to be in 5 years? What is it going to look like? Obviously, you know, at the moment there's a lot of unknowns with COVID-19. Hopefully we'll be getting more clarity today about, you know, releasing restrictions and so forth. But, you know, planning for what is your business going to look like post COVID-19 restrictions, and how are you going to implement those, and where are you going to be in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years? You know, it's sort of it's got there the desired endpoint, but obviously, you know, your endpoint might be 30 or 40 years away, or 20 years away. So have a look at, you know, shorter periods as well. It needs to be measurable. So do you want to grow sales, for example? So you might grow sales to $1 million or $10 million a year, however, depends on your business. It could also be maybe opening up new locations. It could also be not so much about revenue or growth. It may be that you're happy with the way where your business is at in terms of sales and profitability. Maybe you as a business owner, you want to get some more time with your family. So maybe it might be, the vision might be, okay, well, I want to get the business to a point where it can run without me having to be there every single day, or it can run, while I take a 2-week holiday and I don't have to be on the emails the whole time. Really important, your vision. Again, we're in the, this is big picture space here. We're going to get into the detail when Daniel goes through his items, but this is the big picture. So we're not going into detail here. What do we want? Overall, we want to increase our sales to X, or we want to open up new stores, or we want to grow, or we want to achieve this. It must mean something to you. That's really important here. It must be something that you really want to achieve, that you're going to be striving to achieve in your business, and also something that your team can internalize and use for their own motivation to go, okay, well, this is where our business is at now, and this is where we want to get to, and your team members, how can they assist you in that? And they can, and sharing that with them can help them to focus what they're doing, and obviously aligning the KPIs and the shorter term goals that Daniel will speak about later with the employees can really help you achieve that vision. I guess informing your vision, it's talking about what do you want to achieve as business owners is really important. So this is more of the personal question. What do you want to get out of it? So it may be, so first item obviously is, how much income do we want after all costs to the business to deliver to you personally? So we talk about, probably you want to really have a look at, we want to have a look at your business plan regularly, but at least, every 12 months, sort of almost start again, I guess, with a blank piece of paper, and then see where you're going from there. So how much income do you need in the next 12 months? And then work from there. Okay, so how much, and we'll go through an example budget there of working out how to use, okay, well, I need this money, so I need to have this many sales. But also other items, as I said, what will you be doing, your roles, hours per week, holidays. If you're planning a holiday, actually put it in your business plan. I want to have a holiday next year, and I want to go away for 3 weeks, and I want to go to Hawaii, and I want it to be in June next year, or something like that. Your goals here, and as Daniel talks about later with the KPIs and the 90-day goals, your goals should be what they refer to as SMART goals, or SMART KPIs. So they should be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. If they don't meet, pardon me, if they don't meet those characteristics, then your goals can be a little bit wishy-washy and not really something that you can measure, because you want to be able to go back and say, okay, well, did we achieve these things? Why did we achieve them? Why did we not achieve them? So that you can work on them for the future. Pardon me. The next item we want to discuss is core values. The values these are the key principles or work ethics that the business upholds. So, essentially starting off with, what do you as business owners, what do you hold in your hearts? What would you tell your children if they were in a difficult situation, unsure how to act? What, message or, values would you like to impart on them? And I guess that also applies to, how would that apply to the team? How do you want your team to act when they're having a problem with a client or a customer or a supplier, or another team member? How do you want them to behave? These values, they're unlikely to change over time. Excuse me. Really, really important to any organisation, particularly an organisation with team, and that as your team grows, that you have strong values, and that the leaders and the key important people in that team abide by those values and really demonstrate those values to the team, so that's how you are portrayed, and you can be shown to the greater public and your customers and your stakeholders in your business. So as part of that, we'll share our core values here at Smart to you, and we'll go through those and discuss those briefly. So our core values at Smart, the first there is balance, placing individual and family needs first. So obviously that's really important for, particularly obviously for our staff, that we know that family comes first. So it's really important that, if we need to go to the doctor or something like that, or if we need to look after our kids, that comes first. But that's also in the way we talked with our clients, and you've already heard me talking about, okay, potentially one of the things you might want to be looking at your business is getting more family time or having that family holiday. So it's really important that that's part of our values system at Smart Business Solutions, that we encourage our staff and our clients that you should be having balancing working life with your family life. Agility, that's been really important for us over the past few weeks, and I think it's important for all businesses, particularly at the moment with COVID-19, is that we've always had that value of being agile and being open to doing new things and preparing different kinds of work for our clients. You know, when problems or challenges are thrown our way, we are generally accepting of those problems and challenges, and okay, how do we achieve the best results for our clients? And you know, with COVID-19 and with the JobKeeper, you would have seen most likely would have seen our webinars. We've offered a lot of free information for our clients and the greater community, and that was because we were agile enough to act quickly as possible in this environment. And I think that comes from our core values of doing that in the past with other items, you know, maybe not so necessarily, you know, as widespread as say COVID-19, but being able to have that core value of agility, we were able to act swiftly. Appreciation, valuing all individuals. I think that's really important in any business, whether that's valuing your teammates and your colleagues or your staff, but also valuing your suppliers, valuing your customers. It's just really important. Everybody likes to feel valued, and I think that's a really great value to have. We walk the talk, so again, we practice what we preach. We're here now. I'm telling you that you need to do a business plan. I'm telling you that you should have core values in your business, and we have it here as well. So we practice what we preach. The last one there, sustainability, normally that's sort of a green type, you know, word, and talking about the environment. In our sense, we're really talking here about the recycling of knowledge. So, you know, within our firm, that can be, we're making sure that we're sharing our information and our knowledge in our work papers through training, through, you know, if I create a work paper, I'll share it with the team, I'll share it with Daniel to make sure that we all have it, so that we don't have to recreate the wheel every single time we do it. And you know, other team members do that for me as well, of course. But also the sharing of knowledge via these webinars for the greater community, so that you know, we learn something and then we share it to others. So it's not just kept into, you know, individual, you know, minds. It's we share it as much as possible. Talked about earlier the budget and working out what you want to get out of the business from a financial aspect. Really important here that you need to have a financial forecast. If you don't have a financial forecast, I really recommend that's another thing you do as well as the business plan, is creating one. We can obviously help you do that. Obviously, as business owners, you can also do that yourself. And I really recommend at the very least, that you have that understanding for yourself. We do have webinars as well where we talk about cash flow forecasting as well, that if you want to go back and have a look at, I'd recommend. Often business owners forget that they have to pay themselves. So in part of the budgeting, you should budget, okay, well, what do I want to get out of this business? Here's a quick example here. We've got a net profit. So what we're saying here is we want $200,000. We want to take home as business owners $200,000 out of the business. So what we want to work out, well, okay, how much revenue do we need to plan for to get that 200,000? So assuming we have overheads of $500,000, we're assuming our profit margin is 25%. Therefore, we need a gross profit of 700,000 with the overheads and net profit that we want. Therefore, our gross revenue target is 2.8 million. And then we've said that that's an annual rate. So we've started at the bottom. What do we want as business owners to take out of the business? Okay, let's look at our business. Okay, under the current parameters of our business, we're going to need a sales target of 2.8 million if we want to take out $200,000. So I guess then you go, oh, okay, well, is that achievable? How do we achieve that? And that's where you need to implement plans to achieve that. It might be that you are looking at how do we get to that revenue figure. You may also want to look at, you know, is there any overheads we can decrease so that that's less of a factor. You may also look at the profit margin. Okay, maybe do we need to not necessarily grow our revenue, but maybe do we need to increase sales or just look at the way our gross profit is being affected by other things, and maybe we can have some, you know, positive effect that way. And then, as you would have seen in the business plan, you need to calculate that out by quarterly, and you can even calculate that out monthly to see how you're going and see how you're tracking. That's it for me. So I'm going to hand over to my colleague Daniel, who's going to take you through the rest of the presentation.
Thank you, Paul.
So I'm going to just bear with me while we organise the technology.
This is always the fun part.
Yeah.
I've got both fingers crossed as well.
Okay. Where is it? There we go. There you are. I've made you the host, Daniel. So hopefully you can now share your screen.
All right, let's have a look.
How'd you go?
Getting there. Okay.
Getting there? There we go.
I hope everybody can see my screen now.
Not there. Very smooth, that one. It's very smooth transfer. I'll leave it to you.
Absolutely. Okay, thanks for that, Paul. So I guess, there's some really good information there. And so now I'll be taking over and having a look at some of the other items that, would generally be included in a business plan. Just to give you a little bit of a summary of what I'll be covering. So I'll begin with an overview of KPIs. And this will include measuring and evaluating, the performance of your business. I'll then move on to defining our ideal customer or client. We'll discuss your value proposition, opportunities and vulnerabilities of your business, key challenges, and we'll finish with goal setting and your next steps. So KPIs. Now, I think most people, have heard of KPIs and how they can be used in a business to measure performance. Essentially, KPIs are the drivers of your business, and they're the levers that, if pulled, will have an impact on the results. A KPI is a measurable value that demonstrates how effectively a business is achieving its key objectives. So given that today's session is about business planning, while it's great that we have a plan, it's a great first step, we also need to check in and evaluate that everything is on track, and we need to do this on a regular basis. If we don't check in and measure our key performance indicators, we may not realise that A, we might not be performing to the level required to execute our plan and achieve our objectives, or B, things may not be going to plan and we may miss our chance to take remedial action. I'll go through a little bit about defining KPIs. So defining key performance indicators is tricky business, and the operative word in KPI is key, because every KPI should be related to a specific business outcome with a key performance measure. When defining KPIs, there's a number of steps that you'll generally undertake, and so I would summarize these as follows. So we want to look at, what is the desired outcome? Why does the outcome matter? How are you going to measure progress to achieving that outcome? And how will you know that you've achieved your outcome? So as an example, let's say your objective is to increase sales revenue this year. We'll call this the sales growth KPI. So here's how we might define the KPI. So what is the desired outcome? The desired outcome is to increase sales revenue by 20% this year. Why does the outcome matter? Because achieving the target will allow the business to become profitable. How are you going to measure progress towards achieving the outcome? Progress will be measured as an increase in revenue denominated in dollars. And how will you know that you've achieved your outcome? Revenue will have increased by 20% over the period. Some additional thoughts and key takeaways here. So as I think Paul touched on earlier, so we want to use SMART KPIs. So they need to be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. So that's a bit of a key concept there, and will help you come up with KPIs that meet all of your requirements. And also, we want to evolve the KPIs to fit the changing needs of the business. So part of the ongoing review and evaluation process involves updating KPIs to ensure that they remain relevant as your business changes. KPIs aren't static, and so if you're simply setting and forgetting the KPIs, you risk then chasing objectives that are no longer relevant to the business. All right, now the next, thing to talk about. So ideal clients and customers. So what is an ideal client? The ideal client is essentially a symbiotic relationship. It's a two-way street that leads to a mutually beneficial outcome. Two things are generally present. An ideal customer is someone who will get significant value from your offering, and they will provide significant value to your business in return. So who do you want to work with? Well, the answer to that is you want to work with the very best customers for your product or service. And then you want to focus all marketing, advertising, sales efforts on this particular type of customer. In essence, to brass tacks, the ideal customer is someone who gets their exact needs met by what you're offering. As an example, in terms of our business as accountants, we specialize in helping small business owners overcome barriers to success. Now, as part of that, we do tax, accounting, business advisory, bookkeeping, mentoring, coaching, and the list goes on. But the key thing to note is that our ideal customer is very different to the ideal customer of other accounting firms, for example, H&R Block, who focus more on the individual side. So it's important to drill down and ensure that your product or service, your specific skills and capabilities that are being offered are targeted to the right audience. So to do that, there's a number of steps to undertake. So the first step is to know your product or service. What do you offer and what are your strengths and weaknesses? You need to know where to target your entity. You need to think about what problems you solve for your clients or customers. Step 2, determining your own goals. Are you happy with this type of customer? And will this customer help you achieve your objectives? And more importantly, are they happy with you? So as I said, it's a two-way street. It has to go both ways. And I guess another factor there, are you working with the type of customers who value your business the most? So everybody has different specialities. There's different attributes to different products and services. And so you really want to be targeting your offering to the people that will value what you're providing. Step 3, you can analyze past interactions and experiences. These will help you define who your ideal customer is. You can look back on any major mistakes or successes to help narrow your focus. Perhaps you've found it difficult to work with a certain type of client, or a customer in a certain industry has been more profitable for your business. And finally, building a customer profile. This process involves answering various questions that cover everything from basic demographics to what influences their buying decisions. When working with clients at Smart and in the business planning and coaching, we use customer avatars to map out ideal customers and help them efficiently target their efforts and energy. So I guess the takeaway here, you need to have a think about how you would summarize your ideal customer or client in one sentence. Okay, value proposition. It's another key area to be considered in the business plan. A value proposition refers to the value a company promises to deliver to customers if they choose to buy the product or service. For me, it's about the why a customer would choose to do business with you. A great value proposition demonstrates what your product or service has to offer a customer that no other competitor can, and how your product or service fulfills a need that no other company is able to fill. So I guess as part of this, you may have heard about elevator pitches. Do you have a good elevator pitch? Can you clearly articulate the value of the product or services that you offer? So the value proposition in your business plan is going to be those things. Other considerations and things to take into account in determining your value proposition would be, do you know what you offer your clients that competitors don't? So as in the example above, again, relating this to myself and Smart, I feel I can clearly articulate to prospective clients the benefit that they will get from working together. We service a particular type of client, which is small and medium enterprise, and therefore have considerable capability and expertise in this area. To me, this is about demonstrating and articulating clearly how the benefit that a client or customer receives from your product or service significantly outweighs the cost. You then need to think about why should customers choose to do business with you? Circling back to the ideal customer, to my mind, the answer would be that because by doing business with you, they get their exact needs met by what you're offering. What makes you stand out from the competition and point of difference? Obviously, this can come down to brand reputation, expertise, the quality of your product or service, essentially the key attributes of what you're offering and what you stand for. And finally, dealing with objections. So what objections from customers have you managed to overcome that your competitors may not have? So overcoming objections is definitely a common part of any sales process. People may object for a number of reasons. Sometimes these may be well-founded and other times they may simply mask other concerns. The key to note here is that overcoming objections is also a key skill and critical in preventing good opportunities from going to waste. So perhaps you have managed to overcome objections that your competitors may not have. In this case, it's likely that you've been able to articulate the value of the product or service that you offer and demonstrate to the client how the benefit outweighs the cost. As an example, consider a common objection being price or cost, too expensive. Perhaps you've come up with a strategy to overcome this objection by providing clients with a case study that demonstrates the value a customer has received that you deal with, which outweighs the initial investment. Another common objection would be fear of change, and a great way to respond to this type of objection would be to explain to clients that there are also risks associated with doing nothing. An example of this would be video stores, and we've seen how streaming and online services have effectively, rendered their businesses sadly obsolete. And so this leads us to the next slide. So now we'll talk a little bit about opportunities and vulnerabilities. When we speak to business owners, we're looking to provide solutions to problems. And to this end, and key to any business planning work, we want to understand both opportunities and vulnerabilities associated with the business. So it's critical to understand, amongst other things, we want to know, what makes the business owner tick. So what keeps clients and business owners awake at night? And by the way, the quick answer here is usually cash flow or something similar. Are there any changes in the industry that you need to respond to stay competitive? Do you need to innovate as per above? Are you getting enough family time, and are you getting any you time? If you're not, is this sustainable? Is this sustainable long term? Probably not. And have you done a SWOT analysis? So do you have a good understanding of your business and the environment that you operate within? A good understanding of these points is critical when it comes to setting goals for the business, identifying key issues and problems, and also opportunities. It allows us to plan for where we want to be in 1, 3, and even 5 years from now. And further, it allows us to put in place goals and related actions that can be undertaken to help achieve our long-term business objectives and the objectives within the business plan. So what's your most critical challenge? This is really important to sort of nail down, because it will determine, I guess, the outcome and a lot of the goals that we're going to set. So to demonstrate by way of a couple of examples, let's say that, for a typical small business owner that we see on a regular basis coming in and out of the office, generally it boils down to how do we lift gross profit and overall profitability without blowing the owners apart? And so to that end, we really want to nail down and is everybody on the same page and committed to the outcome? So there has to be that synergy between the owners. That could be husband and wife, it could be business partners, etc. Thinking about the retail industry now and the trend toward online shopping and the platforms that have changed the way that consumers interact, such as eBay and Amazon, does your business also need to innovate to stay competitive? This is likely even more relevant now, given everything that has recently occurred with the coronavirus pandemic. And, it's pretty clear that people's preferences and behaviours are going to change. If you just look at the recent increase in online sales volumes, and again, as people become more and more comfortable with this way of transacting, the norm may shift again. So it's worth thinking about what your most critical challenge is and what you need to address in your business to ensure that you meet your objectives and goals. Okay, so moving on to goals now and key projects. Every business at any stage of the business life cycle needs goals to keep moving forward, get them motivated to do more and maintain success in their business. Goal setting can follow, many different processes, and each one can be successful as long as it defines the long and short-term goals and devises a plan for getting there. Goals and key projects are distinct from quick wins, which will be achieved in less than a month. So goals should generally cascade from long-term to short-term, so from 5 years to 1 year to current actions. And so by this, we mean that, we want to break down the long-term goal into more manageable units so that we can provide a roadmap to the client to ensure that they have the best chance of achieving the long-term goal. They should address opportunities, vulnerabilities as discussed in earlier slides, and also the critical challenges that we've identified. They should contribute to and align with your purpose and vision as Paul discussed, and what you ultimately want to achieve. So be clear and concise with the goals and ensure they don't overlap. Generally, we try and keep this to 4 goals or less anymore, and it's likely they could be grouped together. Too many, and you'll also struggle to internalize or remember them in order to effectively achieve them. What I did want to do now, so just to jump across back into the business plan, just to, I guess, give you a visual idea of what we're talking about here. So I've got the business plan up. So talking about the goals, so you can see here on this side, but we're starting with our longer term goals. So if we start with 1 year, we'll have a couple, 2 or 3 main goals, and then we'll break that down into our 90-day goals and then actions to achieve the 90-day goals. So the 90-day goals, so these goals will feed off the 1 year goals that we've set. Each 90-day goal will relate to one of your 1 year goals to ensure that you're working towards achieving them. They'll be much more specific and identify a person responsible for achieving the goals by a certain date. The 90-day actions, so now we'll identify the actions required to achieve the 90-day goals. So we're breaking it down again. We'll allocate the person responsible and establish a date by which the action must be completed. So this is also good from an accountability perspective. So it's great to have a good business plan and that all looks good. But if we can't hold the owners or the specific person accountable for undertaking the actions that they agreed to undertake, then really it is, at the end of the day, it's of little value. I'll jump back into the slides. Okay, so next steps. So after we've got the business plan, the next steps, we want to ensure that we clearly communicate the business plan to the team before we begin any implementation. It's worth noting, and as I just said, who's going to hold you accountable to achieving the goals and actions that you've committed to? I guess for us as accountants and coaches and mentors, our most successful clients work with us on a quarterly basis to review and update goals and actions in the plan. We find that by having someone to hold clients to account, they're far more likely to do the important actions that we've identified and agreed to. So just to recap the outcomes of today's session. So do you have an improved confidence and motivation? You should have a clearer distinction on things that you may have heard before. Hopefully we've demystified the process of business planning a little bit, and now you can go away and start to work on, if you don't already have a plan, create a plan, or either update your current plan to sort of bring it into today's environment. And you should be clear about what you need to focus on going forward. So if you would like assistance in this area, feel free to get in touch and we can arrange a business planning session with one of our team members. That would be either Shannon, Paul, or myself, and each of us have considerable experience working with clients in this area. We'd be happy to put together a plan that identifies your objectives and helps you achieve your goals. So it'll be a really distilled version. So, it's just really key data. We have some other good upcoming webinars that you might be interested in. So we've got a Mother's Day special. Kate Christie, she's a time management specialist and it's a fundraiser. And then on the 15th of May, we'll be doing a zero payroll refresher. And there'll be more to come. So keep an eye out on the emails and the website. A parting thought from today's session. So a good plan today is better than a perfect plan tomorrow. So I guess we all know, and it's something that I guess a lot of perfectionists will struggle with, but there really is no thing as perfection. So having a good plan today will allow you to get started, and then you can always work on it moving forward. I guess that's all about action. That quote, but interesting nonetheless. Any questions? If you have any questions, feel free to pop them into the chat box, and we can answer them as we go. Otherwise,
So we got one question, Daniel. I'll throw it at you, and if you want to answer it, and I can
Yeah,
try.
sure. I'll do my best.
So we got one question. So how do you plan in just in this COVID-19 environment when we don't know what's happening? How do you sort of even go about starting?
Yeah, so look, I think it definitely, at the moment it's unprecedented times and there is a lot of uncertainty. I guess the starting point, so there's things here that are within your control, and there's also things that are outside of your control. And so you'll see that when you're going through the business plan, and if you're having a look at some of the sections and the components of the plan that we've discussed, some of the things that you're going to look at will be related to your core values, your objectives, what you want to get out of the business, and then there'll also be that external side as well. So I think you can only plan as best you can, for those things that are within your control, and at least having a plan will allow you to kind of maximize your opportunity to be successful in some of those other areas as well. What do you think, Paul? Do you have anything to add there? Or?
Yeah, I think it's a really good point that you make about what you can control and focusing on that. And I think that's an important part of why you have a business plan to, okay, well, what can I control and what can I work on? I mean, one of the examples that one of our action items at Smart Business Solutions was always to have these lunch and learns, but also we normally do them on site, but to actually have webinars that we can post online. We hadn't gotten around to it, but we were able to action that because of COVID-19 sort of forced us to do it. So now we have these recorded and on our website available for everyone to use at any stage. So, I think it's just to control what you can control, and I guess, really just focus on the things that you can do. We've seen many businesses and how they've been able to alter their businesses during this time, and maybe for some of those that they might be things that they can permanently change. So restaurants that never offered delivery are now offering delivery. Maybe that is something that they can continue doing and is a good thing for them. So I guess using this time to diversify and just to do what you can and can focus on what you can control. We've got another question about how often we should be looking at the plan, and once prepared and changing it. I guess we did sort of touch on that a little bit briefly at the start, where I guess, and I'll welcome your input, Daniel, is that looking at the plan, I guess, at least once a month, but regularly, I guess, particularly, referring back to it when you have a challenging issue and okay, well, what's the plan?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, I think, the point of the plans that we generally put together. So the reason that we keep it to a couple of pages, three at the most, is that we want to, we want it to be a document that is a living document that you can continue to pull out and look at. As Paul said, so some people will prepare a business plan for the bank or some other purpose, and it can be 60 pages long. It can be perfect, and it can be used to obtain the finance. Then they might never look at it again. So we do try to update the plans as often as possible and as things change. And so yeah, it would be a living document and at least once a month, if not sooner.
Yep. Another question here: do we discuss it with the employees? We might want them to know the plan, but do we want them to know all the financials? So how do we do this practically? I guess it's sharing parts of the plan with the employees that you feel comfortable with. I think definitely, certainly, you'd want to share the purpose and the vision of the business with the employees and the core values, and I guess selecting those which goals you want to share with the employees. You probably want to share all your goals, but maybe hiding the personal, what you want to achieve, and the financials if you prefer to hide that from your staff. What do you reckon, Daniel?
Yeah, look, I'd agree with you there. I mean, I think you want the people that are working with you to buy into the organisation, and so and to buy into your vision and purpose as well. So I think that also, getting everybody to buy into the plan is likely to increase your.
Yeah. I think the more you can be open, the better, because I think that helps employees buy into the plan. But I do understand, some owners might not necessarily want to show the profits and the financial figures to their staff.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Excellent. I think that's all the questions we have. Oh, we do have another question. Sorry, Amanda. Yes, we will be able to email a copy of the slides, I believe, and also the example business plan to you, to all attendees after we finish the session. So hopefully that'll be out this afternoon for you.
Great. Thank you all for joining, and enjoy your weekend.
Thanks very much. See ya.